Okay, welcome back to the course on the academic study of religions of the world. In this lecture, we will look at one of the most important, one of the most ancient religions of the world called Buddhism in English or Bauddha Dharma in the native languages of Asia. Buddhism, as probably you know already, that it originated in the land that we now know as India. Uh, that time it was probably called as Aryavart or Bharat. Buddha himself was born in what we now know as Nepal, border of Nepal and India, a place called Lumbini. So, in this lecture, let's look at how Buddhism started, how Buddha became who he later became as, although he was born as a prince, but now later in his life he became an ascetic and the founder of Buddhism eventually. We will look at the origin, the schism, how Buddhism later emerged into two separate branches, two separate sects within Buddhism. We will look at how Buddhism declined in India as it spread across Asia. So these are the four major topics that we will be studying. You can follow along my presentation on Buddhism. If you come to slide 2, I'm summarizing the life of Buddha, who was born as Siddhartha Gautama in his royal family where he was born. Uh, Siddhartha was his first name, Gautama his family name, surname, or last name as we call it now. He was born on the full moon day of the Vaishakha month, which is just traditional Hindu month, and that the year was 563 BCE. So almost 2600 years from today was the time when Buddha was born in a place called Lumbini. It was a pretty green, densely uh, a place where a lot of trees were growing, a very green uh, park kind of a setting, a garden kind of a setting where he was born in what we now know as Nepal, just north of India in the Himalayan region. There are many legends, just as in the all these great people have also several great legends about their birth, just as Jesus Christ has. There are actually very lot of similarities in how Jesus is perceived by Christians and Buddha is perceived by the Buddhists. So, just as there are legends about the birth of Jesus Christ, we also have several legends about the birth of the Buddha. Uh, there was this prophecy as soon as he was born, or even before he was born, actually. There was a prophecy that he will grow up to become a Chakravartin, which means a revolutionary monarch, a great emperor of several parts. I mean, huge empire that he will lead. So Buddha will grow up to become a great emperor, a great monarch. Also, as soon as he is born, an ascetic walks all the way from Himalayas, comes and meets his father, Buddha's father, and gives this prophecy that he will either become this great monarch or he will become an ascetic, that he will renounce his wealth, he will renounce his family, and become an ascetic and live as a monk. Also, there is a legend that as he's just as when Buddha's mother is pregnant, she has these dreams, and uh, there are seven steps after this. And Buddha is born as a virgin, just as the birth of Jesus Christ is imagined or believed to be out of the Virgin Mother. Here also similar belief that Buddha's birth is a virgin birth, and her mother, Buddha's mother, dies immediately after giving birth to the Buddha. Again, he was born as Siddhartha, not yet the Buddha. So Siddhartha is born, and his mother passes away. Obviously, being a being born in a royal family, Buddha's father tries every bit to make him as worldly as possible. So Buddha is surrounded by these luxuries, all kinds of pleasures, all kinds of wealth, all kinds of pleasure plays inside the palace and outside, so that he's shielded off from any miseries or anything that is unpleasant is not even shown to the Buddha. Now there is this legend, another legend about his life, that when he's almost 25 years of age, he goes out to see a youth festival in his city of Lumbini. So Buddha is out of his palace. So Buddha is sitting inside his chariot, and his driver is driving his chariot. And Buddha comes across four different kinds of people as he is taking this tour across the city, as he's going to this youth festival. He sees a very old man, first of all. The first sight that he sees, and that he gets kind of a first surprise, is when he sees an old man. And Buddha immediately comes to this question that is, uh, is this going to be my condition also? Will I also grow up and become such an old person? The driver says, yes, my lord, you will also become an old person. We all do. Second, and after some time, Buddha comes across a sick person. He asks his driver again, will I also become, may I also become, there is a chance that I also might become such a sick person. And again, his driver responds, yes, my lord, all people once or more than once in their lifetime may become sick. Then Buddha comes across this dead body. The people are carrying this one dead body on their shoulders. And again, Buddha asks his driver, and again the driver gives his affirmative reply that yes, my lord, you might also, or you will also die one day. We all do, and we leave this world. Buddha is full of surprises as he has never seen an old, a sick, or a dead person in his lifetime so far. And finally, the fourth person that he sees and gets surprised about is an ascetic. It's a monk. Yeah, that was a monk, and Buddha sees that this monk has some mysterious kind of pleasure and pleasant smile, pleasant silence on his face. So Buddha asks his driver again and realizes that gets kind of attracted to this life of an ascetic, and that is what he gets to become pretty soon. So Buddha, in a way, Buddha equates life to be a life of suffering. Life is suffering, is Buddha's early conclusion. And happiness, whatever we experience in this life, is very temporary, very transient. The permanent happiness can come only by renouncing the pleasures, renouncing the worldly life, and that's how then that ascetic has done. That fourth sight that Buddha sees, and that is what Buddha becomes eventually. So, so it is called as, so Buddha's becoming of an ascetic from being a prince is called as great going forth. If you look at my slide 3, so Buddha is now in the process of renouncing his worldly, his royal life, and he goes forth to become an ascetic. So after Buddha's son is born, Buddha, in the middle of the night, one night, he leaves his family and kingdom in search of enlightenment. He starts, as he becomes this ascetic, he starts with extreme practices, what are called as self-mortification, intense penance. He cuts his, of course, he has already cut his long hair. He has already renounced his, royal costume and all the other pleasures. But he goes on to do extreme penance, the fasts, and deprives himself of food and water even. And he goes on to do these kind of practices. But eventually he gets this inspiration apparently from a woman that to deny these pleasures and to torture oneself into this extreme self mortification is not the preferred way, but to choose a middle way, a moderate way, that you don't want to be so harsh on yourself that you end up torturing your body, or you don't want to be so loose on yourself that you totally indulge in the pleasures of the world. But rather than going to these extremes of extreme penance, extreme mortification, or extreme pleasures, choose a middle way. Choose a middle way or a moderate way in which you take some food, some amount of food and water, but do not indulge yourself in pleasures. And so Buddha chooses this middle way, and then eventually he decides that he will not get up under where he's sitting under a tree in a place which is now known as Bodh Gaya in Bihar, the state of Bihar in India, where he sits under a banyan kind of a tree, a large tree, and while sitting under that tree for several days, he finally gets this awakening, this enlightenment at the dawn on the full moon day of the Vaishak month, same Hindu calendar month on which he was born. And this comes usually around June, July time frame every year. And at the age of 35, he gets this awakening, gets this enlightenment, and he remembers his past lives and can see the emptiness across the universe that is eventually known as the nirvana. Nirvana literally means emptiness, or to blow off the consciousness and to get to the ultimate emptiness inside every particle of the universe. That is what Buddha eventually teaches all his disciples. Buddha lives for more than 4 decades after he is enlightened. So he dies at the age of 80 in 483 BCE. So as we can see, he has a long life. He attains the enlightenment and lives for a long life, and that's how he succeeds in spreading his teaching across India, across South Asia, and eventually Buddhism becomes a religion of the land of several other countries across Asia. Even today, Buddhism is practiced in Nepal, in Burma, Myanmar, that is Thailand, Cambodia, Mauritius, China, Japan, South Korea. It's a pan-Asian religion tradition that started in India but spread across Asia. Now, if you look at slide 4, here we are seeing that Buddhism probably should not be called as a religion, because it rejects all kinds of authority, even including against Brahmins, the Hindu Brahmins who were the spiritual leaders of the society. Buddhism rejects that authority. Buddhism rejects all kinds of rituals, especially the animal sacrifices that were being done before the Buddha was born. Buddhism rejects all kinds of speculation. When Buddha is asked of a question such as the existence of God or existence of soul, he maintains his noble silence. He's not interested in any speculative answers, or even he does not invite or welcome or entertain any kinds of such kind of speculative questions. Then Buddhism also rejects any kind of tradition. Specifically, later Buddhism especially rejects the Vedas. Buddha himself does not use the language of Sanskrit while he's preaching. He uses the language of the masses, a language that people were using. Some versions, probably most likely, of Ardh Magadhi or Pali or other North Indian languages that people were using. That's the dialect that Buddha speaks in, not the Sanskrit, which was considered as a divine language by Brahmins. Buddha is also not interested in any grace that is coming down from any gods or goddesses. Buddha says it's only self-effort that can lead practitioners into ultimate liberations and ultimate liberation. Buddha is not interested in any god or goddesses also. So Buddhism is not a typical religion where there are authoritarian figures, or there are rituals, speculative theories, or traditions is important for several religions, not for Buddhism. At least when Buddha was alive, because he rejects the tradition, he rejects the grace of gods or goddesses, he rejects the mystery of gods. He even says do not worry about gods or goddesses, just believe on your own self effort. Only that can lead you to liberation. So from these angles, we can probably say that Buddhism is very difficult to be considered a religion, because it rejects all kinds of traditional elements of all religions.